जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोप गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा। That's a nice way to end it. Ow. That hurts. Anyway. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivekacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivekacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Namacharya Shil Haridas Thakur Ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र धाम की गंगामय यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णया वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. You guys can hear me, right? This mic is working. Thank you all for attending to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's not working. I can't. It's a broken stand, I believe. Anyway, before I start speaking on the Bhagavatam, I would like to thank you. Seek all the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas here, especially senior devotees like Ramar Prabhu. And Prabhu, what's your name? Jai Govinda Prabhu. And all the other assembled devotees here. Uruga Prabhu as well. Irangi Mataji. Dehan Kori Prabhu, everybody. Works? Right. I know. Okay. So we're reading from the 4th canto, chapter 6, titled Brahmā, Satisfied Lord Śiva. And we'll be reading from the 8th verse all the way up until the 24th verse. So it's a lot of verses. We'll chant together, I think, the 22nd verse. So I'll just chant the Sanskrit and the English up until then. Sa ittamadishya surana jastutai samanvita pitribi sa prajeshay yayau swadhishnya nilayang puradvisha Kailāsa madripavaram priyam prabho. After thus instructing all the demigods, the Pitās, and the lords of the living entities, Lord Brahmā took them with him and left for the abode of Lord Śiva, known as Kailāsa Hill. Purport. The abode of Lord Śiva, which is known as Kailāsa, is described in the 14 verses which follow. Janma Shaudhi Tapo Mantra Yoga Siddhir Naretaraihi Jushtam Kinnara Gandharvair Apsarobhivritang Sada. The abode, known as Kailāsa, is full of different herbs and vegetables, and it is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practice. Thus, the residents of that abode are demigods by birth and have all mystic powers. Besides them, there are other human beings who are known as Kinnaras and Gandharvas and are accompanied by their beautiful wives, who are known as Apsarās or angels. Nana mani mai shringair, nana dhatu vichitritai, nana druma lata gulmair, nana mriga garnavritai. Kailāsa is full of mountains filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals and surrounded by all varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill is nicely decorated by various types of deer. Verse 11. Nana mala prasravaner Nanakandarasanubhi Ramanang Viharanitam Ramane Siddhayoshitam. There are many waterfalls, and in the mountains there are many beautiful caves in which the very beautiful wives of the mystics are found. Verse 12. Mayurakekabhirutam madanadhali vimurchitam lavitairaktakanthanam kujitaicha patatrinam. On Kailāsa Hill, there is always the rhythmical sound of the peacocks, sweet vibrations, and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and other birds whisper amongst themselves. Avayantam ivodhatste dvijan kamadugair drumai rajantam iva matangair ranantam iva nirjirai. There are tall trees with straight branches that appear to call the sweet birds, and when the herds of elephants pass through the hills, it appears that the Kailāsa Hill moves with them. When the waterfalls resound, it appears that Kailāsa Hill does also. Verses 14 to 15. Mandarai parijataischa saralai chopashobhitam tamalai shalatalaischa govidara sanarjunai chutai kadambai nipaischa nagapunnaga champakai patala shoka bahu bakulai kundai kurabakairapi. The whole of Kailāsa Hill is decorated with various kinds of trees, of which the following names may be mentioned: Mandara, Parijata, Sarala, Tamala, Tala, Govidara, Asana, Arjuna, Amrajati, mango, Kadamba, Dhuli Kadamba, Naga, Punnaga, Champaka, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Kurabaka. The entire hill is decorated with such trees, which produce flowers with fragrant aromas. Verse 16. Swarnarna shatapatraischa vararenuka jatibhihi kubjakair mallikabhishcha madhavibhishcha manditam. There are other trees also which decorate the hill, such as the golden lotus flower, the cinnamon tree, malati, kubja, mallika, and madhavi. Verse 17. Panasodumbarashvatha plakshanyagrodha hingubhi bhurjairoshadhi pugai rajapugai cha jambubhi. Kailāsa Hill is also decorated with such trees as kata, jackfruit, julara, banyan trees, plakshas, nyagrodhas, and trees producing asafoetida. Also, there are trees of betel nuts and bhurjapatra, as well as rajapuga, blackberries, and similar other trees. Verse 18. Kharjuramritakaradhyai priyala madhukengudai dhrumajati piranyaischa rajitam venukichakai. There are mango trees, priyala, madhuka, and inguda. Besides these, there are other trees like the thin bamboos, kichaka, and varieties of other bamboo trees, all decorating the tract of Kailāsa Hill. Verses 19 to 20. Kumutotpala kahlara shatapatra vanardhibhihi nalinishu kalankujat khagavrindo pashashobhitam mrigai shakha mrigai krodair mrigendrair rikshashalikai kavai sharabhi vyagrai rurubhir mahishadibhihi. There are different kinds of lotus flowers, such as kumuda, utpala, and shatapatra. The forest appears to be a decorated garden, and all the small lakes are full of various kinds of birds who whisper very sweetly. There are many kinds of other animals also, like deer, monkeys, boars, lions, rikshas, shalyakas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, and many other animals who are fully enjoying their lives. Verse 21. Karnatraikapashadha vasyair nirjushtam vrikanabhibhihi kadali khanda sangruddha nalini pulina shriyam. There are varieties of deer such as Karnatra, Ekapada, Ashvasya, Vrika, and Kasturi, the deer which bears musk. Besides the deer, there are many banana trees which decorate the small hillside lakes very nicely. Verse 22. Paryastang nandaya satya snana punya tarodaya vilokya bhutesha girim vibhudha vishmayam yayuhu. There's a small lake named Alakananda. There's a small lake named Alakananda in which Sati used to take her bath, and that lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailāsa Hill, were struck with wonder at the great opulence to be found there. Purport. According to the commentary called Sri Bhagavata Chandra Chandrika, the water in which Sati used to bathe was Ganges water. In other words, the Ganges flowed through the Kailasa Parvata. There is every possibility of accepting such a statement because Ganges water also flows from the hair of Lord Shiva. Since Ganges water rests on the head of Lord Shiva and then flows to the other parts of the universe, it is quite possible that the water in which Sati bathed, which was certainly very nicely scented, was Ganges water. Verse 23. Dadrush tatra te ramyam alakamamavai purim varnang saugandhikang chapi yatra tannama pankajam. Thus the demigod saw the wonderfully beautiful region known as Alaka in the forest known as Saugandhika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Saugandhika because of its abundance of lotus flowers. Purport. Sometimes Alaka is known as Alakapuri, which is also the name of the abode of Kuvera. Kuvera's abode, however, cannot be seen from Kailasa. Therefore, the region of Alaka referred to here is different from the Alakapuri of Kuvera. According to Veera Raghava Acharya, Alaka means uncommonly beautiful. In the region of Alaka that the demigod saw, there is a type of lotus flower known as Saugandhika that distributes an especially fragrant scent. Verse 24, the last one. Nanda chalaka nanda cha saritau bhayatah puraha tirthapada padamboja rajasati vapavane. They also saw the two rivers named Nanda and Alakananda. These two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. We'll go back to 23 and we can chant this together real quick. Dadrush tatra te ramyam alakam nama vaipurim vanang saugandhikang chapi yatra tannama pankajam dadrishus tatra te ramyam alakam nama vaipurim vanang saugandhikang chapi yatra tannama pankajam dadrishus tatra te ramyam alakam nama vaipurim vanang saugandhikang chapi yatra tannama pankajam. Please chant. Vanang saugandhikang chapi yatra tannama pankajam. Alakam nama vaipurim vanam saugandhikang chapi yatra tannama pankajam. Alakam nama vaipurim Pratannama pankajam tadrishus tatra te ramyam Vanam saugandhikam chapi yatra tannama pankajam tadrishus tatra te ramyam vanakam nama vaipurim vanam saugandhikam chapi yatra tannama pankajam dadrishuhu saw tatra there in Kailāsa te they the demigods ramyam very attractive alakam alaka nama known as vai indeed purim abode vanam forest saugandhikam saugandhika cha and api even yatra in which place tat nama known by that name pankajam species of lotus flowers. Translation. Thus the demigods saw the wonderfully beautiful region known as Alaka in the forest known as Saugandhika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Saugandhika because of its abundance of lotus flowers. We can read the purport once again. Sometimes Alaka is known as Alakapuri, which is also the name of the abode of Kuvera. Kuvera's abode, however, cannot be seen from Kailasa. Therefore, the region of Alaka referred to here is different from the Alakapuri of Kuvera. According to Veera Raghava Acharya, Alaka means uncommonly beautiful. In the region of Alaka that the demigods saw, there is a type of lotus flower known as Saugandhika that distributes an especially fragrant scent. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhang Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all for assembling here once again. Before I start speaking, I'd like to ask for blessings one more time. So please grant me thy blessings. So all these verses that we just read, these, I guess, 17 verses that we just read, the essence is that it's talking about a holy place, which is, in this case, Kailas. So it's interesting how, well, at least because I was born in India and I grew up in India, so I'm speaking from that perspective. But also we can see there's other migratory trends that are happening. For the past maybe 3 or 4 decades, we've seen that the whole world, at least from Indian side, they've been very interested in moving to the West. There's been a big migration of unskilled laborers, IT people, engineers, so on and so forth, all moving towards the west. London, New York, California, so on and so forth. But Srila Prabhupada, he noticed this migration and he decided to take the very powerful spiritual culture from India, from Vrindavan, the Hare Krishna culture, and bring it to the West. He tried London first, but then he decided on New York. And so basically, we can say that he created a reverse migration. People are moving to the West for other things, for for want of better life and so what. But Prabhupada, he brought the Vedic culture to the West. So instead of bringing nations to the West or moving to the West for nations, Prabhupada brought spirituality to the West. And he made people, later on, he made those same people from the West go back to India, back to Vrindavan. So that was a reverse migration. And it's very interesting that because of Prabhupada, Vrindavan is what it is now. And Mayapur is slowly getting there. All the shopkeepers in Vrindavan, majority of them, they have a picture of Srila Prabhupada somewhere in their shop, maybe at the front, in the back, on the wall, somewhere, because they recognize his significance, his role that he played in bringing all these foreigners, these Westerners, also Indians to Vrindavan in such large numbers. So because of Prabhupada, you can see that the West and certain places in the West became holy places. They became tirthas. They became dhams. He brought the dham from Vrindavan, not that it lost its dhamness, and brought it to the West and made the West various dhams. So in the verses that we read just now, all the 17 verses, they talk about the heavenly pleasures, the beautiful flowers, the beautiful trees, the various kinds of animals, the various rivers, the enchanting inhabitants like the Apsarās, the Gandharvas, the Kinnaras, all these beautiful heavenly and celestial living entities who are far, far better looking than us, have higher thinking capabilities than us. They have much greater communication skills than us. They understand communication on a whole different platform. And this is what Kailāsa Hill is full of. So when we were reading these verses, at least when I first read them, I was a little bit attracted to these so-called heavenly, characteristics and heavenly properties and heavenly features like the birds and the waterfalls, because I'm a nature person and I like to go on different hikes and road trips and whatnot. So when I go on these trips, I like to plan out the most scenic route. So when I was reading these verses, it reminded me of that tendency that I have, that little material desire that I have, that, when I go, instead of going to a temple, I want to go on a scenic route. I want to climb a hill. I want to climb a volcano. I want to climb a mountain, so on and so forth. So like I was saying earlier, a lot of the youth from third world countries or second world countries, they grow up with this tendency or this dream that they want to move to the West, that they want to make it big. They want to establish themselves in the West for a better life. They want to earn more and send money back to their families. However, this was not the culture back in the day. By back in the day, I mean centuries ago, at least 200, 300, even 450 years ago, when the British came to India. Prior to that, Columbus, he was looking for India, but he found America. So like this, many tribes or kingdoms or empires have come to India seeking for either riches, spices, various kinds of elements such as gold, whatnot, or they've been looking for culture, a much richer culture, like the Vedic culture, for example. And why was this the case? Why was this the case? Because they knew that India had that strong culture, that India was a holy place. All the places in India like Prayag, Haridwar, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, all these places, Udupi in the west, in the south, all these places, they were places of significance, of strong spiritual culture. And all these migrants who came from the west, they wanted a taste of this culture. But nowadays what's happening is the reverse. People are going to the west to look for the so-called material tirthas, like Silicon Valley for a better job, New York for a cramped apartment, so on and so forth. But Prabhupada, he reversed all that. He's taking people back to the original place of glory, which is the dhams. And this stark contrast can be seen in these places. For example, we have Western body people wearing Indian clothes in Vrindavan, and then you have Indian body people in the West wearing Western clothes. So it's a very interesting contrast that we can see that's happening in the contemporary world. So holy places versus heaven. This is another thing that these verses were talking about. So Tirtha Bhumi or Tapo Bhumi is what places like India, Mayapur, places in India like Mayapur, Vrindavan, any place in the West where there's a temple. These are all Tirtha Bhumis or Tapo Bhumis, whereas any other place that is not so spiritually inclined or is more materially inclined is called Bhoga Bhumi, where enjoyment takes place. So, sorry? Bhoga Bhumi. Bhoga Bhumi. So, earth is interesting because it's a place of both Tirtha Bhumi and Bhoga Bhumi. You can enjoy, or you can practice austerities and perfect your life, or you can choose to go up or go down and continue your existence in this material world. So, like this, different people, different mindsets, people from different cultures, they have different desires that they want to fulfill. And they have to choose whether they want to partake in the activities of Bhoga Bhumi or they want to partake in the activities of Tapo Bhumi. Tapo means austerities and Bhoga means enjoyment. Do they want to enjoy or do they want to do some austerities, gain some spiritual credits, and eventually make their way back home, back to Godhead? So these holy places, it's not that holy places are only in India. No. It's any place where saintly people are there, and if one can take any knowledge or education from them or some spiritual guidance, that place automatically becomes a tirtha or a holy place or a dham. So the purpose of a holy place is primarily for education. It's for purification. It's a place of mercy where there's unlimited mercy waiting for one to receive if they go with the proper mindset, with the proper intentions. So many times we've, even in our history of this organization, and also in contemporary India, especially nowadays, it's happening a lot that people are asking, oh, what is the need of another temple? Oh, what is the need of making this place a temple? Or what is the use of making this land into a place of pilgrimage? What's the benefit of chanting? What's the benefit of preaching? I'm sure all the Harinam devotees who go out for book distribution, on certain times they might experience people asking them this question, but what's the point of this? Why are you guys doing this? Why are you sitting out in the cold singing or chanting nonsense or whatever they say? So like this, there's a trend of interest that's lost. The people are losing interest in this spiritual culture of visiting holy places and taking full advantage of these holy places. And sadly, even the so-called saints who are residing in these holy places, they've lost their saintly character. They're there trying to achieve or to obtain some material benefits. They're trying to cheat people by giving them false promises or giving them false or unbona fide mantras and telling them, oh, if you chant this, you'll get so and so much money, but you have to give me some money. So Prabhupada always, from the beginning, was always against this. And he always advised his disciples not to go to the holy places and be influenced by the so-called saintly people or sadhus. So taking birth in a holy place is very important. It's an important thing. Yes, the Chaitanya Charitamrita quotes this, where Mahaprabhu says, Bharata Bhumite Janma Hoilo Jar. Mahaprabhu, what's the second line to it? Bharata Bhumite Janma Hoilo Jar? Janma Sartha Kori Koro Poro Upakar. So whoever is born in India, they have to utilize that birth and make their life successful by preaching Krishna consciousness. But what is the point of taking birth in such a holy place? Not just India, any holy place. I'm referring to India because Bharata Bhumi, most people understand that as India. But what's the point of taking birth in a holy place? Let's say, for example, someone takes birth in Vrindavan, then due to wrong association or influence of material energy. They get in the wrong association and they fall into bad tendencies, and then all they can desire is moving to the West and earning money and indulging in all nefarious activities and indulging in illicit sex, drinking, intoxication, meat eating, all these things. What's the point if his birth was so glorious in the beginning, but then he ruined all of it by doing all these nefarious activities? So it's not that just taking birth in a holy place makes your life perfect. No, you have to do your part. You have to practice the culture of spirituality, bona fide spirituality, authentic spirituality, not just doing some yoga or whatever. You have to do the highest stage of practice, the highest stage of spirituality, the highest stage of yoga, which is chanting Hare Krishna or thinking of Krishna constantly. So it's interesting now that people from India are moving to the West, and people from the West are coming to India to practice, except for Gopal Pran. He came to the West to send people back to India. So all these people, they're going to India to practice yoga, to find some spirituality, because they know that life in the West is not what it seems. All that allurement is not so real or not so promising as it might have felt or seemed at one point years ago. So sure, birth in a holy place is a result of past spiritual practices. But Krishna in the Gita says, Suchinam Shimatam Gehe Yoga Vrishto Vijayate. So whoever has taken birth in India has some past spiritual potency or some spiritual credit that enables them to practice spirituality in this life as well. But if they're absorbed in nescience or material activities or a material way of life, then they're not taking the full advantage of being born in a holy place. And in the same way, people who go to the holy places for the wrong purposes, they're also misusing the importance and the benefits that can be obtained from these holy places. So going to Vrindavan and sitting there drinking tea or watching cricket all day or talking about absolute nonsense, that's not really taking full advantage of the Dham. Watching cricket or engaging in mundane activities, one doesn't get the full benefits of the spiritual potency that's available in these places. So we have to go to these holy places with the proper mood, with the proper intention. Like Akrura, before he came to Vrindavan, before entering Vrindavan, he offered obeisances to the Dham. He rolled in the dust. He bowed his head down. He did this with utter sincerity, not to make a show. So like this, we have to make an intention. We have to make the visit to the Dham a purposeful visit. We shouldn't just go to these places just because we're exhausted of the material world in the West or whatever in the East, and let me go take a weekend off and take a break. No, it has to be for the right purpose. And Srila Prabhupada said one shouldn't go, from what I remember, not more than 3 days, right? That's what Prabhupada said. One shouldn't visit Vrindavan for more than 3 days. After 3 days, they should report back to their temple, something like that.
Ordinary army.
I should leave. Yeah, so the point is that, sorry? Right, there you go, sannyasi, yes. So even for the sannyasis, Prabhupada said don't stay more than 3 days. So what to speak of, not sannyasis, the other ashramas. So engaging oneself properly in the culture of hearing, chanting, taking prasadam, offering obeisances to the deities, that's called residing in the Dham. That's taking proper advantage of the holy places. And the holy places are only important if they're utilized in this regard, in this way. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, for example, he even told, and for example, those devotees who go to these holy places and engage themselves properly, they're the reason why these holy places become so powerful. Like, for example, Yudhishthira Maharaj was telling Vidura, we see it in the Bhagavatam, that you don't need to go to the holy places because you yourself are the holy places personified. You are the tirtha. And like this, various scriptures give the importance of holy places. Even the Bhagavad Gita starts with Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsavaha. So all good things, all sacrifices happen in a holy place. Anywhere that a sacrifice is happening for Lord Vishnu or Krishna, that place automatically becomes a tirtha or a dham. And the importance of holy places can be traced back all the way to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he asked his 6 leading men, the Goswamis, to go excavate Vrindavan and create temples and places of worship so that people would engage themselves properly in Krishna consciousness. Same way, Srila Prabhupada emphasized very strongly the importance of creating a temple for ISKCON in Vrindavan and Mayapur and all other places of the world, because he knew that opening a center or opening a temple would mean that people would automatically get the chance of visiting a holy place, even though they're not living in a place that's close to a holy place like Haridwar or Prayag or Vrindavan. You can find the holy place in the West a few train stops away. There's a temple. So this is the purpose for the temples existing. The purpose why Srila Prabhupada opened all these temples is so that we can live in Vaikuntha. And he said this about the Los Angeles temple. He said, because of this temple, LA is now Vaikuntha. And all the devotees in the temple are sitting at the lotus feet of the Lord, of Rukmini Dwarkadish. Back then it was Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna, right? That's what they were called? The deities in LA. Before Rukmini Dwarkadish, they were Radha Krishna. Right? No, before that, that wasn't their original name. So anyway, so engagement in the holy places, the proper engagement is what is key. So if we get attracted by all the non-important things in life and miss the opportunity that the holy place has to offer, that is visiting the saintly people and taking knowledge and advice from them, then we're misusing the existence of these holy places. And nowadays, we also have this culture of saving time in the wrong ways. Like we'll skip breakfast to make it to work on time, and then we'll suffer all day, and so on and so forth. We make many adjustments to our life where we skip the essential things that are so important for the purification of our minds. We think that sometimes just taking a bath is enough. Some people don't even take baths. So we just think, oh, taking a bath is enough, it'll purify me for the rest of the day. No, you have to engage yourself in reading, in chanting, in meditation, all these things. Only then does the mind become purified. And only then can you do your duty properly. You cannot do your duty if your mind is not entirely purified. And every day, this resets. You have to start it every day. It's not that we chant once a week and then we can go for the rest of the week or the rest of the month or the rest of the year. No, it's a daily endeavor. It's a moment-to-moment endeavor. And visiting holy places gives us this recharge, so to say, this motivation, this inspiration to empower ourselves with better spiritual practices, with better determination and resilience. Because without determination and resilience, one cannot keep, and discipline also, one cannot keep their spiritual practice going very long. That's why we have such a wonderful program established by Srila Prabhupada, where it starts at 4 o'clock in the morning and goes all the way to 9 p.m. Every moment there's some engagement going on. And this is what a holy place is. This is a dham. This is a tirtha. And Kailāsa Hill is one such place, which is what the verses were talking about. Sure, the dham described in these verses has many beautiful features like the waterfalls and this and that. So does Vrindavan. But if one just gets attracted to those things, then they miss the essence of what the holy place has to offer. So thank you all for listening. I hope whatever I said made sense and was able to speak in the line of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And if I said anything that was inaccurate or false or whatever along those lines, please forgive me. I'm just learning. So, Hare Krishna. Any questions or concerns? Or any comments you want to add? Krishna, Krishna. Hare Ram.
Give it Jag over.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram.
In in hearing the description of in the description of Kailas, sounded like such a beautiful place in so many ways.
Mhm.
But how is that in relation to from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all their places of misery? Even louder? Okay,
Hold on, repeat one more time.
one more time. So Kailash, is that a place of misery where repeated birth and death takes place? Or is that a middle zone or?
So Prabhu is asking, he's saying that Kailāsa Hill is a heavenly place, you said?
Well, it sounds heavenly.
The way
at
it's
least.
described in the verses makes it seem like a heavenly place. But is this also a place of birth and death like the rest of the material world? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay. There's two Kailas hills. One is in that Viraja area where Mahesh Dham, where Lord Shiva resides. That's the original Kailas. And then there's a material replica of that in the material world, where he receives the water from the Garbhodaka water on his head, and then that becomes Bhogavati, then becomes Ganga, and then becomes, no, Mandakini, Ganga, and then Bhogavati. So there's two Kailas hills. So the Kailas hill in this material world it's an extended place of enjoyment, but at the end of there's inhabitants in there like Kinnaras, Gandharvas, and whatnot. So they all come to an end one day. Of course, the proportion of the ratio of enjoyment to suffering is leaning towards enjoyments, more enjoyment and less suffering because it's a heavenly place. But there's still birth and death and disease and whatnot. Not in the same way that we suffer here. Even the disease that they suffer is probably on a higher grade. Like they don't suffer so much, it doesn't hurt them so much. There's medicinal herbs, like I said in the verse. There's all these trees and whatnot, but everything comes to an end in the material part of Kailas. But in the Mahesh Dham Kailas,
That's not in the material world.
no. It's a between place, neither material nor spiritual.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Any idea when the microphone is going to get fixed?
By the grace of Srila Prabhupada, soon.
Okay. So there's, in the 7th canto, Narada Muni is instructing Maharaj Yudhishthir. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The chapter number 14 called Ideal Family Life. Narada Muni, now I shall describe the places where religious performances may be executed. The place where a Vaishnava is available is an excellent place for all auspicious activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the support of this entire cosmic manifestation with all its moving and non-moving living entities. And the temple where the deity of the Lord is installed is a most sacred place. Furthermore, places where learned Brahmins observe Vedic principles by means of austerity, education, and mercy are also most auspicious and sacred. So Prabhupada is describing in the purport how, I'll just read, that a Vaishnava temple where the Lord Krishna is worshipped and where a Vaishnava is engaged in the service of the Lord is the best sacred place for performing any religious ceremonies. At the present day, especially in big cities, people live in small apartments and are not able to establish a deity or a temple. Under the circumstances, therefore, the centers and temples being established by the expanding Krishna consciousness movement are the best sacred places for performing religious ceremonies. So previously, people could perform religious ceremonies in their home, but because of everything being so packed up and compact, they can't. So they should come to the
Harinam.
temple. Although people in general are no longer interested in religious ceremonies or deity worship, the Krishna conscious movement gives everyone the chance to advance in spiritual life by becoming Krishna conscious. So, kind of reverse migration. We bring the temple to the people by going out in public, and then of the many, many people in the public, the best, Chaturvida Vajanti Mama, 4 types of good people, and then of the 4, the seeker is the best. Then, as Prabhupada said, we're providing the temples to give a place for those who are sincerely interested in spiritual life to come forward to perfect their lives. So, like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he was not so satisfied with establishing temples, and he ultimately gave Prabhupada the order, better to take the marble from the temple and print books. It's not that the temple is wrong or bad, but that the tendency to misuse the temple, in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's case, for name, fame, profit, adoration, and distinction, better to just distribute Krishna consciousness and find the sincere people, sincere candidates, and then they can make a temple, and hopefully it won't fall prey to name, fame, profit, adoration, and distinction.
What verse is this again? 7.
This is several verses. Ideal Family Life, Canto 7, Chapter 14, beginning verses 27. That was a double verse. 29. Auspicious indeed are the places where there is a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in which he is duly worshipped, and the places where there flow the celebrated sacred rivers mentioned in the Puranas, the supplementary Vedic literatures. Anything spiritual done there is certainly very effective. And all of these purports are very nice. Prabhupada says so many nice things about deity worship in ISKCON, and particularly or especially 4 verses in a row, 30 through 33, Narada Muni is describing so many sacred places throughout India, Pushkar, Naimisharanya, Varanasi, Mathura, Bindu Sarava, Bhadrakashram, so many places. And then he says, and this is not exactly what the translation would be, but Prabhupada takes liberty to give the translation. And even in the word-for-word Sanskrit, check this out. This is perhaps the longest insert to word-for-word translation. Where is it? Archa Ashrita. Places where the deity of Radha and Krishna is worshipped, such as big American cities like New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and European cities like London and Paris, or wherever there are centers of the Krishna consciousness movement.
Archa.
That's just all one.
What was it? Archa what?
It's in this section. This is verses
What was it again?
30 through 33.
What was the Sanskrit again? Archa what?
The Sanskrit for all of that was Archita Ashrita. Those 2 words Prabhupada got, all of that. And then in the actual translation, I'll read a little. Places where the Nanda River flows, the places where Lord Ramachandra and Mother Sita took shelter, such as Chitrakoot, and also the holy tracts of land known as Mahendra and Malaya. All of these are to be considered most pious and sacred. Similarly, places outside of India where there are centers of the Krishna consciousness movement and where Radha and Krishna deities are worshipped must all be visited and worshipped by those who want to be spiritually advanced. One who intends to advance in spiritual life may visit all these places and perform ritualistic ceremonies and get results 1,000 times better than the results of the same activities performed in any other place. The Krishna consciousness movement is giving the population of the entire world a chance to take advantage of Krishna consciousness through the ISKCON centers, where one may perform deity worship and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, we've had Sunday feasts for years and decades, but since we've started doing kirtan in the temple room at the beginning of the darshan at 4:20, I've seen, there'd be 10 people present right at that time. By 4:45, there'd be 30 people. By 5 o'clock, there'll be 50 or 60. By 5:30, there'd be 70 or 80 people, because the Harina, the chanting of Hare Krishna, is along with the deity worship. Whereas previously, people would mostly come for 6 o'clock when there's the
Right.
Sundar Arti. So kirtan and deity worship together. And this way, 1,000 times more effective. And one other comment, that Srila Prabhupada established the Krishna Balaram Mandir twofold for devotees to take shelter, to get recharged and re-inspired to go do the main service preaching in the West. Prabhupada said, Vrindavan is inspiration only. Our real field work is all over the world. But then the devotees at the time of establishing and building, we're out here in the boondocks, Ram and Reti, it's so far away. And Prabhupada, same thing with establishing the Bhubaneswar temple. You don't understand. If Krishna's here, people will come. And there's even the statement that we become victims of our own success. People, what Vrindavan was like in the 70s, or the Parikram path was just all sand, and now it's become like a huge city and like an extension of Helly, Smelly Delhi. But the point is, it's not that people who are coming to Vrindavan automatically are pure devotees. They bring their Helly, Smelly Delhi with them, but their religious sentiment, they come to the temple. So the Krishna Balaram Mandir has now become, Prabhupada's own words, a lazy, intelligent preacher's paradise. Just like here in New York City, people come here and we just remain in one place, and we get the credit of traveling all over the world and preaching to millions of people, because just tourism, 60 million people come to New York City every year. So similarly in Vrindavan, because of the fame of the Krishna consciousness movement and Srila Prabhupada, everyone wants to come to Vrindavan. So the devotees sit in the Krishna Balaram Mandir, not like lazy men, but lazy intelligent. They get the most bang for their buck, and especially the way Prabhupada designed the temple room. You enter, pay obeisances to Guru, then to Gauranga, then to Krishna Balaram, Radha Shama Sundar, and their attendants, Lalita and Vishaka, Tulsi Maharani, and then what do? You join the Kirtan Mandali. And Vrindavan is one of the topmost temples in India for book distribution. Not so much traveling sankirtan, but right on the premises. So in that way, if you go to Vrindavan to take up service in the mood of being a preacher, then the danger of taking the holy place for granted or re-engaging in your karmically inbred mundane activities will be lessened, if not eliminated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Very nice. Any other questions or comments? No. It's 9 o'clock. It's time for prasadam, mercy. So, thank you all for attending Bhagavatam class. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Amrita Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki. Philip. I can get up.